Welcome back. The Chicago mayoral runoff is less than a month away, and both candidates have really racked up some big-name endorsements. Every day we're hearing new organizations and individuals. Here to break down these endorsements and what they mean exactly is teaching professor in the School of Public Service and chair of DePaul's Masters of Public Administration program, Dr. Nick Kachiroubas. Dr. Kachiroubas, thanks for being with us.
Good to be with you.
I was just telling you as we were kind of getting ready for this segment that in the last 45 minutes, Elizabeth Warren, the senator from Massachusetts, has endorsed Brandon Johnson, adding to a long list on both sides of the ledger for both of the finalists. From where you sit, who has the biggest endorsement so far, maybe for each one?
So I definitely think for Paul Vallas, the Jesse White endorsement was very important for him. Jesse White, as you know, had been Secretary of State since the late 90s. Really appeals to that center, if you will, that moderate voter. And I think that's the group of people that needs to be swayed at this point. For Brandon Johnson, I would say it is a tie between Tony Preckwinkle and the CPS school union and, excuse me, Chicago Teachers Union. Because I think Tony Preckwinkle brings with her some Democratic support, which hopefully will get out and work for Johnson in the last few weeks of the election. And the CTU is known for getting their members out to vote. So that's a strong coalition for Brandon Johnson.
Obviously, the CTU is probably a bit of a known, right? I mean, he has a pretty deep relationship with that organization. Let's zoom out here. How much do these kind of endorsements actually sway voters when they close the curtain, such as we do that anymore, and actually decide who we're going to vote for?
So I think they mean a lot if the person who's endorsing the candidate means something to you. So at the end of the day, it's sort of that adage that all politics is local. And so that's why we see, I think, a lot of these aldermen endorsing, because in the neighborhoods, if you like your alderman, then typically you'll follow along with that. Not 100%, but there's hopefully somebody that you can connect to in either one of these two candidates, if you're still undecided, that will help you make up your mind because a like voice is speaking at that time.
Right, we take our cues from people who we kind of align with. Who else is lingering out there? What are some of the big fish that both sides are probably trying to persuade as we speak?
So I think the biggest fish out there is Mayor Lightfoot, and the question is whether she will actually endorse or not. I'm not sure if she will. At this point, it doesn't really behoove her to have to do that. But at the end of the day, she still got 17% of the vote, and where those voters go can be a make or break for either one of these two candidates.
And so when we talk about all of this as we kind of nudge, we're inside of a month to Election Day, as we wait to see if Lori Lightfoot endorses. We've had some rumblings that maybe the president would have weighed in. If it was Lori Lightfoot, I had seen some talk about that. In the aggregate, where do you see this race right now? Obviously, Paul Vallas had an amazingly impressive turnout, and his numbers were very impressive on Election Day, a week and a half ago. Where is this race at right now?
So I think Paul Vallas has a little bit of an advantage. In that first round election, he had just under 35% of the vote. And as you know, Willie Wilson came out in support of Paul Vallas this last week. He had 9% of that vote. If those voters go his way, then he's already at 44%, where Brandon Johnson only had about 20% of the vote. And so he has a lot more to make up. And his strategy has really been to focus on that progressive vote and try to unify those folks in support of him. And the question will be whether that's enough to overcome sort of the undecided, more moderate voters that Paul Vallas is sort of seeking out at this current juncture.
Really interesting perspective. Dr. Kachiroubas, teaching professor in the School of Public Service and chair of DePaul's Masters of Public Administration program. Thanks so much for laying out the groundwork this morning. We really appreciate it.
Great to be with you.
Great to be with you. Enjoy your weekend.